Where are you? It's hard to breathe. You're on your back. You think you can't see anything. Through the darkness, you can just barely make out something in front of you. You try to reach your arms out, but they hit something solid, something wooden. Your fingers trace across the grain, searching for the edge of the surface, but there isn't one. You're boxed in all sides, enclosed in wood. It's a coffin, you realize. Fear starts to dance at the edges of your mind, outpacing your confusion. You're not supposed to be dead. Palms pressed flat against the wood, you strain against your container. The wood is flimsy, but the weight behind it tells you all you need to know. You've been buried. Dread bubbles up in your chest, a growing cyst that digs into your lungs. Your breath comes fast and shallow as the heartbeat that rattles your chest, throwing itself against the bones of its cage. The infection of panic has overwhelmed you now. Your hands act on their own, clawing at the coffin lid above you. Your nails dig into the wood, splinters forcing their way into your nail bed as you carve into it. Fear has wormed its gangrenous way into you, but anger has made a home beside it. The pain doesn't even register as fingers tears himself apart. Your scratch marks turn into streaks of red as your nails buckle, then rip away. The raw flesh screams, or maybe you do. Still, you persist, scraping your merciless fingertips against the blooded wood. The coffin doesn't relent, but neither do you. No matter how pathetic you struggle, how useless your hands, you will not lay down and die. The pads of your fingers start to shred off as you drag them across the wood. Blood runs down your arms, saturates the wood, splashes your face. You will not lay down and die. It's bone that bites the coffin now, no flesh left to cushion your blows, and naturally sharp, you tear through the damp wood with ease. You will not lay down here and die. Dirt spills onto you, filling your mouth and nose, but you're not breathing. You can't remember even needing to. Damp soil presses against your eyes, gritty and dark. The earth forces its way into your mouth as you struggle upward, dirt sliding down your throat. The weight of it is overbearing. It resists your every move with the steady fastest of a guardian. I know it better, seems to say. Stay down here. It is cold, but the worms will keep you company. The earth surrounds you, bitter dirt under your tongue as you scream in vain hope. Heavy dirt pressing in with every wail. All things return to me. Know that you are no different. It is right about the cold. Your heat is leaching out into the dirt, greedy dirt. How much you will lay calm to it? How much will you give? None. You think or scream or maybe sing with death-like certainty to struggle to the end in noble death. You will never give in to the dirt. As if it senses your resolution, it presses in with more force. Perhaps your body is giving out. It's as if the dirt is a mother who cannot bear to abandon their child, and it clings onto you tighter. You will not leave me. You cannot leave me, it says, heavy and cold. You're coming undone. You are sure the dirt is drinking deeply of your blood. You didn't tell your face to smile, but it does, splitting wider than you thought it could, soil in your barred teeth and anger in your heart. I am mine, you think softly at first. Mine. The earth wails in anguish, wounded by the rejection of its love. Grow softer, or maybe you grow stronger. Bit by bit, you claw your way up, forcing it to yield. You and yours. Ah, I thought so. After an eternity in the dark, even the moonlight is blinding. You blink the spots out of your eyes and spit out dirt. You can always tell when folks still have a hatchet to bury. Kept the grave nice and shallow for you. See this wretched? It wants very badly to put you in the ground. It is a pale, mutilated thing staring at you with beady eyes. Feel the malice in its heart. The wretched lets out a reedy moan and gallops towards you. You start looking for an escape route. The gravedigger, having noticed your twitching eyes, puts their hand on your shoulder. I think you should stay and fight. Fear not. I'll be here if things get too hairy. But it would be good for you to learn how to answer violence in this violent world. You try to break free of their grip, but it is like iron. Sometimes one must face things head on, or head off. They laugh at their own jokes. You didn't think it was funny, but you suppose they have more experience with oft heads than you. Okay, you're really going to fight this shambling corpse thing. You weren't a particularly violent person before, but that was before. Perhaps some things are worth fighting for. The grave digger lifts its hand and leans back on the shovel, grinning. Each round starts with a enemy preparing to attack, either a quick attack, heavy attack, or feint. Try to use their reactions to predict what they'll do next. The wretched is gathering strength. Let's try a quick attack. You rush forward and quickly strike the wretched, but overwhelms you with a mighty blow. A heavy attack will smash through a quick attack and best it. Try something else next time. The wretched eyes twitch back and forth in a shifty manner. Let's try a heavy attack. Up. You strike where you thought the wretched was going to be, but it's suddenly at your throat instead. Shrieking and scratching, you manage to fend it off, but not without taking damage. The gravedigger winces. Heavy attacks can be misled by feints. Try something else next time. The wretched eyes twitch back and forth in a shifty manner. Try talking to it. I mean you no harm, you say, raising your arm for good measure. The wretched hangs back for a second. It seems to be considering your words. Then, all of a sudden, it strikes you, screeching and clawing. You fend it off, but not without cost. The wretched is bobbing and weaving. You try to fake out the wretched, but it strikes you before you can successfully execute your idea. The gravedigger lets out a long exhale. A quick attack will strike before feint. Try something else next time. You've lost. The wretched have worn you down. Its arms raises for the killing blow, but before it lands, the gravedigger intervenes. The shovel decapitates the wretched with a single strike. Well, nobody's perfect. Hopefully you know enough to do better next time. Drink this, you'll feel better. They hand you a vial with dark red liquid. You gulp it down and immediately feel much better. Now that that's over with, I must leave. A gravedigger's work is never done, at least not in this town. But who's to say our paths won't cross again? Best of luck. They amble off into the distance, leaving you standing in the graveyard. Standing in the graveyard, you can see several points of interest. To your left is a lake with a dock jutting out onto it. To your right is a church looking straight ahead. You see gates in the distance. Looking behind you, you see a shed. Where would you like to go? Let's try the gate. You decide to go to the gate. The gate is made of imposing wrought iron set in Victorian tiffs and roses and thorns. It towers above you. A spike fence leads out in each direction from it, with no footholds to climb. The spikes look like spears in the moonlight, as if you were fighting some distant army. It's hard to make out through the mist of the darkness, but you try. The gates lead out to a town that named in which you have forgotten, but you know its contours. It is your hometown, and you can tell that much from the skyline in the fog distance. A sudden piece of clarity burns your mind, and you know, let's go there. You try to pull open the gates, but success in only straining a muscle. You think it would take a great force to open it. You are not strong enough, not yet. All right, let's go to the church. You decide to go to the church. The church stands on top of the tall hill. Its roof comes to a steep peak, extending into the ground and doubling as side walls. It was painted entirely white at one point, but humidity has caused it to yellow and peel. Some of the roof tiles have lifted. A small circular window looks down from the top floor like an eye. Its gaze baleful and solemn both. Perhaps there is someone looking down and judging you from it. Enter. The door, a sturdy pinewood construction, gives out a lurching squeal when you push onto it. Rusted hinges begging for oil. Inside is better maintained. No ornament or opulence, but clean and not damp. Wooden pews line up like soldiers to the pulpit. The pews are plain and simple, except for the fact that there is a hook cane on one of them. There is a thick layer of dust on it. Take it, thinking it may prove useful. There doesn't seem to be anything else you can do here. The pulpit is a simple rough-hewn block of stone. There are cobwebs on the floor. You think no one has preached here in a long time, but all of a sudden a wretched jumps out from behind. Defend yourself. The wretched's eyes twitch back and forth in a shifty manner. Both of you try to fake out one another in overcommitting, but it doesn't work. You feel a bit silly. The wretched's eyes twitch back and forth in a shifty manner. You strike where you thought the wretched was going to be, but suddenly at your throat instead, shrieking and scratching. You manage to fend it off, but not without taking damage. The wretched's eyes twitch back and forth in a shifty manner. The wretched looks like it was trying something tricky, but you gave it no time for that. Your claws dig in before you can commit to a strategy. The wretched is bobbing and weaving. Try to fake out a wretched, but it strikes before you can successfully execute your idea. The wretched is bouncing on its heels with a surge of energy. You surge forward and overwhelm the wretched with a powerful strike. It was fast, but you were powerful. This kill is less than the first. Wretched simply falls down and does not get up anymore. It seems pitiable suddenly. You decide to move on after taking some time to rest and heal. Go to the dock. You decide to go to the dock. The lake is eerily still. You peer over the edge of the dock. As you stare into your own eyes, something catches yours. Sparkling on the surface of the water is a reflection of something hanging under the dock, just out of reach. Using the cane, you are able to snugly hook the item and easily retrieve it. You turn it over in your hands and, surprised by their weight, it appears to be an antique lockbox, all brass and filigree. You give an exquisitive shake and hear something metallic clink inside. What a shame. You don't know the code. You hold it while you ponder your next move. Doesn't seem to be anything else you can do here, so you turn back. You sit down at the end of the dock and take off your shoes. You swing your feet around in the water for a few moments. Go to the shed. You decide to go to the shed. The shed is rusted with a sheet metal rock. The shed is rusted with a sheet metal roof and door locked firmly shut with a chain slab of the lock. Looks like it hasn't been used in some time. You shake the door trying to get it open, rusted out and dilapidated as it may be. Can't get in. It looks like you'll need a key. You decide to look around the graveyard first. Most of the gravestones are worn down by time. There are no flowers here. 3 gravestones stand out to you, a large one, broken one, and one with an elaborate inscription. The grave towers over the others. It's nearly as tall as you. The stone is lighter than the others and, curiously, has no name on it. It appears to record a series of telemarks. The starting pair's edges are soft with an age, while the bottom most tellies look newly engraved. Whatever this recording, it has been recording for a long time. What is it counting? Age has withered its grave the most. It is full of pitting and black discoloration, and the top half is broken off. You can barely make out what might be a person's name. That, looking closer, the shape of the stone makes on the ground resembles a crying face. 2 small pharaohs on the dirt stand for eyes, and broken off top is the mouth. Unnerved, you turn back. The inscription is floral in nature, swoops and flourish. Rain and age are withered the stone and taken some small details out, but you can still make out most of it. Oral Dean Burbio author and into the graces lit and we care. Cat is too old in the date is too faded to make out, but you guess he was a gardener. On the back of the gravestone, you see on the back of the gravestone, you see something strange. It's a series of numbers chiseled onto the rock. 1314. You commit them to memory before heading on. All of a sudden, you remember the lockbox. You try the numbers you saw on the tombstone. 1, click. 3, click. 1, click. 4, click. It springs open. The interior is gleaming gunmetal bright. A worn key rests inside. You take the key. There doesn't seem to be anything else you can do here, so you turn back. Oh, we gotta go to the shed. You try the key from the lockbox. It makes some alarming noise as it turns, and you're concerned it might break off the lock, but it unlocks the door. The door shudders and creaks its way open, the metal cool under your palm. It is an unassuming interior. A few tools are hanging on the hooks: hacksaws, gardening shears, hammers, and the like drawers and drawers and shelves abound. The outside of the shed is rusty, but the tools look mostly in good condition. Probably the shed has protected them from humidity. There is a pair of gardening shears, a hacksaw, a hammer, and various screwdrivers, nails, screws, and more historic tools you don't know the purpose of. Hanging beside them is an old canvas apron. The initials OB are embroidered in the front pocket in faded blue thread. Maybe it was Orville's? The shelves are bare of any concept, dust and cobwebs. You run your fingers along them and it comes off gray. Looking closer, you see a pale glow emitting from the drawers. You open it. Inside is what looks like the glowing shard of a mirror wrapped in a rag to allow someone to hold it without hurting themselves. You take a hold of it, and as soon as you touch it, something within you answers. It's like you and it are two opposite poles of the magnet being drawn to each other. You're left with a suggestion in your bones to head back to where you first escaped, your grave, and a sense that the mirror shard has exhausted its energy communicating this to you. The light dims. You wrap the rag back around it and hold on to it. Something calls at you. You head back to the center of the graveyard where you were reborn. At first, your pace is slow, but as you get closer, it quickens. You still yourself. Something rises out of the grave dirt. It's a figure much like your own, but twisted beyond human form. Pallid and grave rotted, but thick red meat where the skin has been removed. Trails of flayed flesh hang off of its form like an evening gown. Its arms are freshly pinned to its chest, blood still oozing. More pins are stuck throughout its body. It is blindfold, but its head turns towards you anyways. Its mouth opens, but instead of a war cry, it comes quiet sobs. You must survive. It's eerily still, like it could strike at any moment. Quick attack. It tries to bait you out, but your attack lands before it can execute its gambit. The flesh trails stretch behind it. You both commit to a heavy swinging, but neither of you come to on top. It is all tensed up like a coiled spring. You try to fake it, but its attack lands first. You get the sense it's tracking your movements. Tries to bait you out, but your attack lands before it can execute its gambit. Your flesh trails are making quick, jerky movements. You seek to overwhelm it with speed, but it had the you seek to overwhelm it with speed, but it had the same idea, and you hang back after a fruitless exchange. You get the sense it's tracking your movement. You aim for where you expect it to be, but it anticipated that, and it deals you a mighty blow to the. You aim for what you expect to be, but it anticipated that and deals you a mighty blow in the process. The flesh trails and making quick, jerky movements. You try to fake it, but it attacks lands first. You get the senses tracking your movements. I mean you no harm, you say. Sobs quiet. Go. Back. In. It indicates the grave mound it came out of. Its voice is high and cracked. Each word comes out as a labored hiss. Back. You don't think there's anything more to be gained from this conversation, and from the way it slips into a fighting stance afterward, you assume the feeling is mutual. It's eerily still, like it could strike at any moment. You aim for where you expected, but it anticipated that and deals you a mighty blow in the process. Perhaps this was your grave after all, or perhaps not. Something rises out of the grave dirt. Oh, we have to fight it again. Okay. You pretend to be aiming the way so when it attacks, you're already at its throat. It's all tensed up like coiled spring. You seek to overwhelm it with speed, but it had the same idea, and you hang back after a fruitless exchange. It's eerily still and could strike at any moment. You both try to fake out each other, but neither of you are successful. It's all tense and coiled up. You both commit to a heavy swing, but neither of you commit to the top. I mean you no harm, you say. Sobs quiet. Go. Back. In. It indicates the grave mound that came out of. It tries to bait you out, but you attack land before it executes its gambit. All tensed up and coiled in spring. You try to fake it out, but it attacks lands first. The flesh trails are making quick, jerky moves. The flesh trail reaches out to strike you, but your strike crashes through and deals damage instead. You let out a sigh of relief, having downed the creature. That was a tough fight, but as it rises, the walls in anguish, it becomes apparent it is not over yet. It has torn its arm scarlet free. Without the large pins, you see more of its torso. Incisions are made with surgical precision to pull layers of flesh back, held in place with smaller pins. The blindfold has fallen off. There's nothing in there. In its chest, where the incision's covered, lies a small pink blob. Perhaps it's breathing. It wails even louder. You must survive. Its hands twitch. You seek to overwhelm it with speed, but it had the same idea, and you hang back for fruitless exchange. It leans in on a low stance. You make it think you are going to strike one way, and then it head to the other way when it overcommits. It leads with a quivering half step. It reaches out to strike you, but your aim is true, and you make it pay. Sobs becomes hoarser. You try to get a quick hit in, but it's in your face with everything. It has pins, claws, flesh. Leans in with a low stance. It launches itself at you, and you at it. But when the dust settles, neither of you has the advantage. Leans low stance. You made it think you were going to strike one way and then head to the other way when it overcommits. At last, you've done it. You've taken the final strike against it, and it must know that it is over. Sure as the sunset. Takes a shuddering half step back into the grave it arose from. There's a single breathless moment in the cool night air. And then it lets out a death wail as it collapses. The sound already trailing off into a breathy gargle. Something has changed within you from that fight. You feel a new strength welling up in you, and surely of itself. You make a fist. You know what you must do. Traveling back to the gates seemed like a catwalk compared to what you've already been through tonight. You stand in front of it. Somehow it doesn't look so imposing anymore. You take a low stance in palm of each hand and each door and push. The gates sound like they're crying out as you force the welded shut metal open, like a screechy mangled wail. It ends with a crash as what used to be the gate entrance falls down in front of you. Your breathing has picked up a little, but not that much. You're not sure if you should be afraid of what's happening to your body, but for now, in your triumph mood, you decide to enjoy it. Stroll into the foggy town. You know there will be other challenges, other monsters, greater and more horrible than the one that lies behind you. The journey will not be easy, but you're not scared anymore.